Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arena of Aurethious podcast. I am Al Basler, aka Aurethious, and on this episode, I am going to be once again joined by my cousin Ian Forts. We're going to be talking about some football, primarily the Super Bowl, which just transpired. Super Bowl 56, right? Was it 56? I think that sounds right. The Rams and the Bengals. We're going to recap that game a bit, talk about that, talk about the halftime show. We mentioned the halftime show. We also touch on a couple of other NFL-related subjects, mostly Tom Brady's retirement, which is kind of a big deal around these parts. And also we touch a little bit, quite a bit actually, on the Brian Flores lawsuit, which is quite the interesting story. But so we get into that a little bit. But yeah, let's not waste too much more time. Let's get into the conversation. Again, always fun for me to talk to Ian about sports. So here we go. It's Super Bowl recap week with Ian. All right, welcome back to the arena, everybody. And once again, joining me, my cousin Ian Forts to talk some football. Ian, how you doing, man?
Good, thanks. Hello, Internet. I'm back.
Back again. Guess who's back? We'll get to that. So as we're recording this, it's Monday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to all you people who are stupid enough to celebrate it. I say that. So I guess we'll do a quick aside here on Valentine's Day. Thankfully, my wife Jamie and neither of us care about it, so it's great. Works out fine for us. Ash is making a huge deal about Valentine's Day this year because
Really?
this is her first Valentine's Day with a boyfriend.
Oh.
So they went out for dinner last night. She's working tonight, but she was very all in on Valentine's Day this year. So I was giving her grief.
No gifts this year. Just getting stuff for the kid.
Yeah.
To make sure Carter's taken care of.
Yeah, it's more important to them.
Yeah.
So it's the day after the Super Bowl. So we're gonna be talking a lot about the Super Bowl, or we'll talk some about the Super Bowl, see how much there's actually to talk about, and we'll hit a couple of other things as well. So I guess just get right down to business. The Los Angeles Rams are your Super Bowl champions, defeating the Cincinnati Bengals. What was it 24-21, 23-20? What was it?
23-20.
Yeah, it's 3 points. I guess my overall take on the game itself was it was largely, I don't know if boring's the right word, but
That's a good word.
It wasn't. It was a close game, and I think because of the fact that it was a close game, and it came down to the final couple of minutes where the Rams scored to take the lead. I think people are kind of overblowing a little bit the greatness of the game. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I struggled staying awake in the first half. I thought that first half was really, really boring. There wasn't really much going on. I mean, maybe the first big thing to talk about is, and I don't think it mattered in the grand scheme of the game, but the decision for the Cincinnati to go for it on that first possession of the game on, was it 4th and 1 from basically midfield.
And that wasn't smart.
It's just the thing that, and I think we talked about it last time, was that there's a lot of analytics now in football, and coaches are relying on this data on what to do in these like 4th down situations and all this stuff. And we're seeing a teams go for it a lot more in 4th down than we've seen historically. And I think that's kind of what happened here. But for me, it's always one of those situations where it's like, okay, Rams got the ball. They didn't really do anything with it. Now you get it, and you're deciding to go for it at midfield. Like, it's one thing if you're anticipating the game kind of being a track meet and you think you're going to need every possession to try and get some points to
Mhm.
keep up with your opponent. But I feel like at that stage of the game, like especially in the Super Bowl, because by and large, I feel like teams come into the Super Bowl, into these games, especially when we're talking, and the Rams don't necessarily fall into this, but the Bengals certainly do. You have teams, coaches, players who haven't really been there before, and they tend to play a lot more conservatively than they would normally. And I think in that situation, you kind of need to let the game play out a little bit more. I mean, it ended up. I mean, you can question the decision. You can certainly question the play call that they
Mhm.
did because I think that was the one where they ran the route for Chase,
Yeah.
and whoever designed the play had the running back going in the same direction, which basically put the linebacker in the passing lane, trying to cover the running back out of the backfield. So you can question the play call, but I mean, what do you think about the decision there that early to go for it at that point in the game with that spot in the field?
I think with a few exceptions, typically Super Bowls start slow and you feel for the game. Unless it's a Dallas versus Denver where you know that they're going to kill them, or San Francisco versus the Chargers back in the day. There was no need to, because if I remember right, they scored the touchdown to OBJ on the on that drive, right?
Yeah, they got
Because they
the
had
they
the
got the
short
ball about
field.
midfield and yeah, had a
Yeah,
short field. You almost knew as soon as they turned the ball over there that the Rams were going to go in and score. I mean,
and if
even
you were to look,
even if they don't score a touchdown there, you're basically giving the ball, 15, 20 yards away from field goal range.
mm-hmm. And I think they would look back on that if for nothing else, then that was sort of a catalyst for the Rams for the first half, and then I just when you look at the totality of the game, they didn't even run the ball that much. The Rams. So I wonder if Taylor
They
knew
tried.
that.
It wasn't from
They
lack of
did.
trying. They kept trying and they weren't.
They couldn't.
One of the only plays, ironically enough, that they actually had a successful run was that final drive. It was like they ran the ball and they got like 7 or 8 yards, which put them in the first and goal,
Mm-hmm.
leading
Oh,
to
that's
that.
right. That was their best run of the day.
And I think that was by far because I know that at one point in the second half the stat was something like Akers had like 11 carries for 13 yards or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, he
And
ended up with 13 for 21.
yeah, and yeah, again, I think he got 7 or 8 on that last run he had.
Yeah.
So that was
I just think it's overthinking it. They were
yes,
overthinking it.
yes,
Analytics out of control. If we're sitting here and we know that Super Bowl's 0-0, 3-0 after the first. It's really not until the end of the second or the beginning of the third when teams get comfortable and they're ready to expand the playbook and the they don't feel like the margin for error isn't as great as it is in the beginning.
yeah. I think some of that comes down to by halftime in I guess you have a feel for how the game's going. You have a feel for what your opponent's trying to do, and then you go into the locker room. You have that extended halftime because of the halftime show, which
Mm-hmm.
it's essentially twice as long as your normal halftime break. So there is a lot more time to try and make adjustments or whatever. I think that has something to do with it. I think one of the things that surprised me, and you mentioned how teams kind of overthink things in the Super Bowl, and I think we definitely saw it here. I was surprised that the Rams seemed to fall victim to this a little bit because you know they were there just a few years ago when they played the Patriots. And one of the things I kept hearing over the course of the last few days, I'll admit, I tried to avoid as much, analysis between the 2 weeks as possible because, I mean, it gets to the point of ridiculousness. But I was listening to some things like the day of or the day before, and one of the things I heard was that McVay Tom McVay felt like he learned a lot from that first Super Bowl appearance about preparation beforehand, and it showed in the way that that game against the Patriots played out, because it didn't feel like that was the Rams that we saw throughout that season. Was it the
Hmm.
2018 season? I think it was.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like, and some of that has to do with the way the Patriots played them defensively that game. But some of that was the Rams probably not being more conservative, not playing the way that they had played. And McVay had said, he was more concerned with trying to figure out what Belichick was going to do than necessarily deciding what they should be doing.
Hmm.
It's that whole thing of, oh, I know that I know that and it's like, then you just start overcomplicating it, and you know I think a lot of times we see coaches and teams just, you know the old saying, dance dance with
What
who you
brought you?
brought. Like, don't overthink it. Like, you got to this point. You got here for however your team got there by what you do. You know, don't abandon that completely. You may have to adjust depending on the opponent. Obviously, that's just a week by week reality in the NFL. But don't completely reinvent the wheel because it's the Super Bowl. Throw in wrinkles here and there, great. But I don't know. I was just shocked to see that the Rams. It felt like they were doing it again, in a sense, or just not playing the way that they normally play.
I think uh, a big part of that was injury to OBJ.
It was definitely a
McCry,
different offense once he went down.
which I don't understand why Cincinnati didn't change up their defense, at least on how they're covering Cup.
What's
Because
funny is they 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 seemed fine for like three and a half quarters, or from the time that Beckham went down to
yeah,
that last drive, really, in the fourth quarter. The Rams weren't doing anything, and I was a little shocked because I didn't think, like, I know they made a point to get Beckham at the trade deadline, and it was a big acquisition. I didn't think that was like such a huge, like, that big of a piece of their offense, that
I think it
losing
was
him.
once Robert Woods went down,
Yeah,
he became their number two.
yeah,
So,
that's true. But I mean,
and I think
you see how many points they put up against Tampa Bay, and what they did throughout the playoffs. And does losing Beckham really change that drastically? Maybe the answer is yes. I don't know. I
maybe
was a little surprised.
I wonder if it was also, I don't know what the name of their tight end was, but he was ruled out.
Yeah,
So they were missing some pieces.
yeah, that's true
Um,
too.
I also think it's a wasted opportunities by Cincinnati in this game after the turnovers.
Yeah, well,
Like you,
that I think so. That was pretty huge. So, they go into the half. What was the score at halftime? I don't even remember.
I think it was 13-10.
That sounds right.
I think that's sort of right.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
You know, you come out like 15 seconds into the second half, you score, which I guess we should probably talk about that play, since that was one of the more controversial plays of the game, with the offensive pass interference call that wasn't made.
Because when you look at that play versus all the flags and what we can do with the last 2 minutes later.
The one thing I'll say about that play is I can understand, like, I don't think that was just like, I think they just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that any of the officials on the field saw the pulling of the face mask
Oh,
of
no.
Ramsey and decided not to throw a flag. They just missed it. And
Yeah, I think what happened, the way he fell, it looked like he just fell.
yeah, and I think because the first replay they showed, which I think was also the same angle as the live shot when the play was happening was behind Ramsey, and you couldn't see it from that angle. So I
Yeah.
don't know if there was a deep official down the middle. I don't think there usually is one. I think because that's well past where the umpire usually is, and then I think you just have the back judges on either sideline, and so I think they're on the sideline, and his back was to the sideline. So I just think it was probably obscured from the referee who was closest to it. I mean, you would maybe think that the one across the field maybe has the shot, but again, you're across the field, maybe you don't. And again, we also have the luxury of looking at it in slow motion replay, and
Mhm.
you see it clearly in the replay. So, like, I don't.
I guess some people are just thinking. You see, it was Boyd, right? No, who
No, it's
was it?
Higgins.
It was Higgins. Like he does like a swim move, so you would think that would at least catch someone's attention.
Right.
But I tracked it up to either A, they just missed it, or it's the Super Bowl and they don't. There's a little bit more. The Rams should know this. Like when they played the pass,
I
they
mean,
let in
there
a little
definitely
bit
is
more.
that. Yeah, there is that idea of letting them play some more in the Super Bowl as opposed to, most other games. But um, one of the problems is, I'm fiddling with mic settings right now as I'm talking. Um, one of the issues that you run into is, and I like the idea of letting them play. You just have to call it consistently, and we'll get to where that all of a sudden seemed to go out the window at the end of the game. But so you get that touchdown if you're Cincinnati to go up on top, and then on the next play from scrimmage for the Rams, they get that interception on the tip ball, and now you're looking at it, and they've got the ball. I believe it's right around midfield, maybe even in Rams territory where that turnover happened. I think it had to have been in Rams territory. That would make
Yeah,
sense because
must have been.
it was the first play after the kickoff, and you figure you go in for a touchdown there, and that's almost essentially the game, at least the way it played out.
Yeah.
And it was I forget what the call was. There was something that happened, and it was a real odd play call. I think they went maybe they went too conservative. Something happened. I forget what it was now, and they ended up having to settle for the field goal. But
Yeah, I don't recall.
oh, you know what it was? It was the play where Burrow scrambled and Donald pushed him out of bounds, or he pushed him while inbounds to out of bounds, and everybody kind of and it almost they almost had the fight. I was shocked that there were no flags thrown on that. Not that it wasn't a penalty on Donald, completely clean hit.
Yeah.
But you had at least two Bengals essentially taking swings and punching Rams players in the face, like right in front of the officials while this scrum is going on. And they kept the flags in their pockets, which, like, on one hand I was like, that's pretty good restraint for this situation to not throw flags there. But I think that woke up the Rams defense a little bit. Like, I think it kind of galvanized them, and if anything, I think that's the point where Aaron Donald basically started to take over the game on defense.
Yeah, because he was a monster in the second half.
Yeah. So, but you look at that, and they have to settle for a field goal. They get a touchdown there, and we're talking a completely different game, especially with how the Rams were playing on offense.
Yeah, because they went in net for a while.
So, I mean, after that, like, it was, there wasn't much going on either way offensively. Like I said, I think it was that going at right around at that point. I think the Rams had recorded maybe one sack up until that point, and they ended with like 7 or something like that. Like the next couple of drives, they were just completely pressuring Burrow.
I'm trying to remember when it was. It was. It wasn't the last. It was another one where I think they went for it. It was third down, Cincinnati. Never mind. Forget about it.
But I
There were
mean,
just so many. It's hard the way the game flowed. It all just seems like one mass jumble. Like nothing compelled you to like, oh, I'm gonna remember this, or
right.
this is gonna be exciting for years to come. They're gonna play it on NFL films. It was just like we said. It just happened,
Yeah,
and then
because
you get to
you had that big momentum swing at the beginning of the second half, where Cincinnati basically took control of the game and could have essentially iced it, but they just couldn't do anything after that point. I mean, the Rams pass rush, and that was one of the things going into the game everyone talked about was that Rams pass rush against the Cincinnati offensive line, which was supposed to be a gigantic mismatch. And for the first couple of quarters, it wasn't, and then all of a sudden, it reared.
do you think that was because they were only playing? They were generally playing like four down. I think they were playing more zone and covering the back
Maybe
end.
they it, they didn't really start blitzing like crazy. I mean, they
Yeah.
blitzed here and there, but one of the things about this Rams front seven or the defensive line specifically is they can generate pressure with a four-man rush, which allows you to do a lot of stuff in the secondary that you can't do if you have to blitz. If you have to keep sending five or six, try and get some pressure on the quarterback. And they kept doing this thing, and they were pointing it out a lot on the broadcast, where they were basically overloading Aaron Donald's side of the defensive line and almost basically leaving Von Miller on the opposite side to just take on the other, whatever was like the tackle or whatever.
Whoever's left.
And it was, they were just trying to, because, I mean, for a while in the first half, you would notice that, I mean, they were constantly double teaming. Sometimes, I think there was one time, I don't know if it was Von Miller, if it was, I think it was Jones, their linebacker, maybe, who got in on a sack. And then you show the replay, and there's three Cincinnati offensive linemen blocking Aaron Donald. And it's like, okay, I understand how good how good he is. I understand the need to maybe double team him, but if you need to put three offensive linemen on him, you got some problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, they started generating that pressure. Cincinnati couldn't really do anything because I mean, the way that game was going, all they needed to do was put one more score on the board, and they probably ice it.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't manage it. So then we get down, and I mean that second half evaporated with how quick. Like I mean, just because there was no scoring really. So we get to the fourth quarter. We get down to this this final possession for the Rams, and I mean they had this long drive, and I swear to God, I kept waiting for Collinsworth to do what Romo did and say the Bengals need to let them score.
Oh.
Thankfully he didn't. Thankfully he didn't. So the Rams start driving. They finally start saying, you know what? We don't care. We're going to put the ball in Cooper Kupp's hands no matter how we do it. I mean, he had like 2 or 3 big catches on the drive to get them into position. They had that 4th and 1 where they ran him on the jet sweep to pick it up. It was I mean, they basically just said we're just putting the ball in his hands, and if you can stop him, great. And otherwise, that's how we're going to win. So they finally get down into the red zone. They get a 1st and goal from I think it was like the 8 or 7 yard line, somewhere around there. And they get stopped on 2 plays, and now we're talking it's like 3rd and goal. And then they throw that pass over the middle of the Kupp.
And the linebacker holds him.
There's the defensive holding call. Now, I'm all for calling penalties that should be called, but the way that they called that game up until that point, that was not a penalty. Like, you could argue that by the letter of the rule, it was maybe defensive holding, but I just don't think I don't think there was enough there to throw that flag at that point.
No, I was astounded because I've been watching the whole game, and any ticky-tacky thing, they weren't calling it. So now we're going to call it.
Yeah. The other thing about that play, and I didn't notice it live, but I saw all sorts of replay, all sorts of stuff today on it. the entire Rams offensive line, with the exception of the center, false started on that play. Like, egregiously.
Really?
It was like a full, like, half second to a second before the snap. They all went back into pass protection. And somehow that didn't get called. I mean, again, I wasn't looking at that when it happened live, so I didn't catch it live. But watching the replay of it, like, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that wasn't called. Because you always get that every now and again. You get that where like the center forgets the snap count, and so everybody else moves, and like you get the flag, and then the referee goes false start. Everybody but the center.
Center.
And that's literally what happened there. And they didn't call it, and then on top of that they call the holding. So now you've got a 1st and goal from like the 4. And then it basically just devolved from there, because at that point Cincinnati is in desperation mode, trying to keep them out of the end zone. You had the next play where they had the offsetting penalties.
What are your thoughts on that? The personal foul. What was the other one? Was it a?
So it
was
was
a hold.
It was an offensive
holding?
hold. It was an offensive hold on one of the offensive linemen, and it was unnecessary roughness on one of the Cincinnati defensive backs.
Maybe this isn't a good instance, but there's sometimes when you have the offsetting penalties, and I'm like, isn't one a little bit more egregious than the other?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that instance, you would go with, the Bengals had the personal foul, but I don't know.
I don't know how you legislate it, but I guess because like sometimes you'll get like a roughing the passer and like offensive pass interference on the same one, and then it's just replay the down.
Right.
And maybe sometimes in that case, you just let whatever happened on the field happen. Because I think he was in. I think he would have scored if they would have counted it. Because he was in the back corner. They never did signal touchdown, though.
Oh, right. He did. Yeah, they did catch the pass in the end zone, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you had that play. So they basically replay the down. And then the next play was the pass interference in the end zone on Eli Apple, who that guy. I almost, and again, this is, take this with a grain of salt, because I didn't actually say it, but I almost tweeted during the game that this game is going to come down to who makes the last mistake, Matthew Stafford or Eli Apple. And I mean, there's not much he could have done. I mean, I don't think there's much else he could have done there. Like, if he doesn't commit pass interference, that's a touchdown. So, but whatever. It's just, and then the next play he gets beat on the fade route. Oh no, the next play was the quarterback sneak. That got like nowhere. And I'm just like, are we gonna try again? Like, apparently Stafford's really bad at quarterback sneaks. Who knew?
Not me. Well, I never watched Detroit, so how would I know?
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing. Quarterback sneak doesn't seem like it's a hard play, but what do I know? Not a quarterback. I've never done it. And the next play is the fade route to Kupp. Just toss it up to him. He beats Apple, makes the play, touchdown. Rams take the lead. It felt like at that point it was a foregone conclusion that they were scoring.
Yeah. So maybe your Tony Romo comes into effect.
Yeah, but see, the only time when that actually factors in is if the offense like tries to milk the clock.
Yeah.
And the Rams weren't doing that.
No, they were trying to score. So
I mean, on top, so I think the Bengals had all 3 timeouts coming into that drive. They used one once they got the 1st and goal, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Or it might have been after the sneak. I think it was after the sneak.
That probably makes more sense, yeah.
And because at that point, like, again, it's 1st and goal from the 1. The odds of them scoring a touchdown, pretty high. So you just want to try and conserve as much clock as possible. Because at that point, you look at it, you got all 3 timeouts. In theory, if the Rams just try and run it in on 4 straight plays, I mean, you either exhaust all 3 timeouts and you either stop them or they score. Even if you stop them and you used all your timeouts, yeah, they still had. I think the Rams also had all 3 timeouts, so they could. They would have had the potentially be able to get the ball back with like 30 seconds left, maybe something like that, depending on the exact time. But anyway, so the Rams take the lead. They're up by 3, which interesting how we glossed over the botched extra point earlier in the game, where Hecker just dropped he caught the snap and then just fumbled the hold, which was bizarre. And then he just throws the ball, which is hilarious.
Oh, that was so weird.
I so desperately wanted Cincinnati to return that for 2 points.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been one of the most famous plays in Super Bowl history, I think, if that happened. But anyway, so Cincinnati gets the ball back. I think at this point there's about a minute and a half left. They've got 2 timeouts and down 3. So all you need is a field goal to tie. They get the ball on the Rams, basically kick it into the end zone, so they get the ball at 25. They start moving the ball a little bit. They get that pass to Chase, and they won, so whatever. But Jalen Ramsey had a sucky game.
Yeah, he was.
For someone who talks as much as he does, he really did not have a good Super Bowl. I mean, granted, I don't necessarily blame him on that long touchdown, but he tried to jump the route on that pass to Chase there, and I guess you can make the argument if he picks that pass off, the game's over.
It's over.
But if you don't pick that pass off, what happens, and they get an extra 15, 20 yards out of it. It might have even been more than that. And that's basically set them up. They at this point, they're roughly at midfield. I think they still had 2 timeouts maybe. They still had, I think, both of their timeouts. Yeah, they did. They still had the 2 timeouts left. You need maybe 20 yards to give your kicker a chance. And I mean, their kicker, they kept making he hadn't missed in the playoffs, and he's got. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he's good from 55.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like you even need to get down to the 30 or for a chip shot or something. So, you come to, it was a third and 4, I think it was. So, first down, I think. I don't know if they threw it. I don't know if they threw it. They threw a short pass. I don't know if that was the one where they lost a few yards, something. No, I think they got a short gain or something. But it was on second. Oh, because it was second. Was it 2nd and 1?
Yeah.
And they. Oh, so yeah. So they had a 9-yard gain, and I think they wasted about 20 seconds without either spiking the ball or calling a timeout. They just, they got to the line, they called the play at the line or whatever. They weren't in any particular hurry, which, hindsight, you could maybe question that, but I mean, I don't think it was the most egregious thing. But then they just, whatever, I don't know if it was just whatever play they called, there was just the one look to Chase down the sideline, and it wasn't there, so Burrows just kind of threw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
So now it's 3rd and 1. They ran that draw play, and Aaron Donald makes a hell of a play, grabbing the running back and not letting him fall forward for the first down. So now it's 4th and half a yard. And I don't even know if they had a running back in the backfield. I think they might have gone empty backfield and spread it out. And they go and they try and throw a pass. I don't know what. I don't think I saw any replays of what Burrows was looking for there. I mean, again, you only need half of a yard, and he didn't.
I think half of the issue was Donald was in his face in half a second.
Maybe. And whatever that first read wasn't immediately there for him to get rid of the ball. But
So I'm looking at it. So they were 2nd and 1 at the 49 of the Rams. You have 3 plays to get a yard.
yeah,
It doesn't seem like I don't know if the head coach had a brain freeze, but you try. I just feel like that long pass, not only did it waste time, it was high. It wasn't low probability.
I don't mind taking a shot there on 2nd and 1 because again, at that point you still do have the 2 timeouts, and you take the shot. You have 2 plays to get a yard. So I don't hate that play call. I hate how long it took them to figure it out that's what they were going to do. And then again, I don't necessarily fault Burrow. I'm assuming that again he had the read to chase there. It wasn't there, and he just threw it away instead of throwing it up for grabs, which I think is fine. And I'm even fine with the play call on 3rd down, except for the fact that why don't you give it to Mixon there? They give it to the other. I forget the other guy's name who the
P. Ryan.
Yeah, I think that's
his name.
Well, and then so again, it's 4th and half a yard. Like, there's no, I don't think that there's any team in the NFL that can't line up, run a quarterback sneak, and pick up a half a yard.
Yeah, so when they were in shotgun, I was like, they're not going to run it.
I mean,
for half a yard.
You're not going to run. Like, I kept waiting for Burrow to come up to the line and call out something or protect it, and then take a quick snap and try and do it. Even that's not necessary. Just put your jumbo set in there and line up and do it. Because they took the timeout after 3rd down, so that left them with the 1. Because again, 4th down, you want to make sure, I guess, you get the play call and you want. But then apparently that was what they wanted. But you run the sneak, and then you can just everybody's right there at the line anyways. Let the referee spot the ball and you spike the ball.
Yeah.
You still preserve your timeout. Worst case scenario, you have to use the timeout there. But you shouldn't have to. You spike the ball, you have a new set of downs, it gives you, 2nd and 10, and you keep going, and you're like, at worst, you're like 15 or so yards away from field goal range. I don't understand. I don't understand what goes through these coaches' heads.
Yeah.
It's a shame because. Go ahead.
It was just for all what was happening in the last 2 minutes, it was very anticlimactic. It almost felt like once the Rams scored, I really didn't think that Bengals had a shot. I think.
See, I did. If for no other reason, then I am still a proponent of this concept that defensive coordinators lose their mind in the last 2 minutes of these games. I expected them to completely back off and let Cincinnati come down the field. Which, to their credit, they didn't do.
Buffalo game.
Yeah.
I think it helps when you have Aaron Donald too.
Yeah, again, the Rams are a team that don't necessarily have to send extra rushers to get pressure. So, out of all of the teams in the NFL, they might be one of the best equipped teams to deal with this kind of a situation, where a team has limited time to try and get down the field and score, because again, you can put pressure on with your front 4, not have to send extra rushers. You can drop people extra people back in coverage. Gives you more options. You don't have to necessarily play man. You can play zone, whatever you want to do. But I don't know. I think the unfortunate thing about it is that I came into this game, and again, not someone who has followed the Bengals closely, just kind of having paid more attention during their playoff run. I was really impressed with Zach Taylor from the sense of, and again, I know it's a regular season award, and they don't take playoffs into consideration. But I think if you did, I think you could make a strong argument for him as coach of the year for taking the Bengals, who I believe only won 4 games last year, and taking them to the Super Bowl, going through going through Kansas City, going through Tennessee on that road. I think you could have made a case for him, but I just can't understand some of the decision making at points in that game. It just as as bad, and I hate always bringing things back to the Patriots, but it's kind of our frame of reference. It's like it always makes me feel better when I see some of these teams do these really stupid things. Like I don't know if they still do it, but I know they used to have a segment on Bertrand and Zolak each week where they talked about why the opponent was dumb this week. And it would just be whatever team the Patriots played, what stupid things they did during the game. Because it was just, by and large, the Patriots and Belichick teams would not make these mistakes. Not to say they're infallible, and you can argue that some of that has changed over the past couple of years, but it's just both teams playing so conservatively in the Super Bowl. Like, I just look at that and I say if that was the Chiefs in that Super Bowl, I think the Rams lose. Not because the Chiefs are so much better than the Bengals, which they might be, but because I have more faith that if McVay does what he did in that plays that game the way he does in the Super Bowl, Andy Reid will beat him. And I don't think Andy Reid's right. Necessarily a great coach either. But I just think he's been there before and knows, has experience in knowing how those games go. And I don't know. I just the whole flow of that game just felt so weird.
When Stafford threw the pick in the end zone early, I was like, oh, this could be a long day.
Yeah.
And then it sort of evened out, and then the second half starts and it's 15 seconds, touchdown, and then there's another Stafford interception. Here comes the turnaround. And it never came. And then it's like a street. It was I was gonna say a street fight, but it wasn't even that. It was just like a slog.
Yeah.
And it's just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's the thing. I just, again, goes back to the whole, like I said, the whole idea of it was a close game, it was a competitive game, but I don't think it was a particularly entertaining game overall.
I don't even think it was a good game.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was particularly well played. I think you can at points. Like I think you give a lot of credit to the Rams defense in the second half about how they kind of righted the ship and played the way they normally do. Speaking of, Cooper Kupp is the MVP. What do you think of that?
I thought it was going to be Donald.
I think it should have been.
But unless you're Larry Brown and have 2 interceptions, or was it Malcolm Smith, the linebacker?
I don't remember.
Was that for the Saints? I think he had 2 picks.
Oh, yeah. I don't
remember exactly, but
defensive players don't typically get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he. So obviously, I think you can make the argument that that last drive was basically the Cooper Kupp show. Yeah, that's what put them on top. But if Aaron Donald doesn't take over that game, I don't think the Rams are in it.
So I think if say Sony Michel scored the second touchdown and Kupp only had 1 touchdown.
You think
I think that could have. I think so.
I don't know. I feel like he got it because of the last drive completely. game winning touchdown. You had a couple of big catches in that drive. So I mean, again, I don't think it's like the craziest thing, but I think it should have been Donald by far. I think he was the Rams MVP in that game.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like, didn't Emmanuel Sanders win the was he the one who did the toe catch against the Cardinals for the not Emmanuel Sanders, who was it?
Yeah, it was.
Was it Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah, back when he was with the Steelers. Yep.
Yeah. Did he win MVP for that?
That's a good question. Steelers, Cardinals, Super Bowl MVP. Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Santonio Holmes who made that catch.
That's who it was. Yeah.
And he was the MVP.
And he won the MVP. So maybe recency. Well, in a 60-minute football game, maybe recency bias.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just don't know how you can look at that game and the way that it played out and not realize that Aaron Donald was basically the reason why the Rams even had a chance at the end of that game. But again, not a huge deal. It was just something that I thought was interesting, and I think the Super Bowl MVP is largely a worthless designation, anyways.
And this is why I wanted San Francisco and Cincinnati. Remember that, people.
Why?
It would have been a better game.
Would it have? I would argue it might have been, although I don't know. Kyle Shanahan's been there before. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like that would have been a better game if any other team in the AFC other than the Bengals were there. And this is not a knock against the Bengals. I was very impressed with the Bengals. Again, like I've said before, I underrated them the entire postseason. But you know what?
I feel like they should have won. They should have won this game.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to you can go back to the officiating thing. I don't want to hear that was one of the big things today. People were going nuts about how the referees took the game away from them.
I just think, like I said earlier, missed opportunities, especially after the 2 turnovers.
Mm-hmm. I think the interesting, and I mean, I don't know if I want to spend too much time speculating on it, but they were talking about a little bit on Felger and Maz today on the way home, and I thought it was an interesting talking point about what this means for the Bengals going forward as opposed to if they would have won this game. And the prevailing thought that they had was that them losing this game was a huge thing for the franchise about where it would go. Where the idea is, if they had won this game, you have a young quarterback who now has the confidence of winning a Super Bowl. The team will have that confidence as well. Now, it's like you have that whole idea of the Super Bowl hangover. The team who loses the Super Bowl, their track record's not great going in for the next couple of years. I mean, look what happened to the Rams when they lost that Super Bowl a couple of years ago. You know, they had a couple of years where they weren't really a factor until they started to load up again. I think it'll be interesting to see because if you look at it right now, if you look at the AFC going forward, and again, this is, off season hasn't happened yet. We don't know free agents, draft, any other, trades, any other moving parts. I mean, you probably look at the Chiefs and the Bills still right now as kind of the odds-on favorites in the conference. I think if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, they're right there with them. But now, just not sure.
I think I agree with you short term. Long term, I think it's devastating to them for 2 reasons. When they all revolve around Joe Burrow. He's now seen what it takes to win in terms of, I know we don't like to talk about buying championships and like the super free agent teams, but that's sort of what they did. And Cincinnati is not known for spending money. So if he feels that they're going to need to spend the money to improve the roster to get back there, I don't know if he's long for Cincinnati after 5 years.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that it's not often that you see franchise quarterbacks change teams. So I think it would have to be a situation where things got really bad in Cincinnati. And not to say that that's an impossible scenario. The one thing I would be worried about is they need to find a way to protect him. I mean, he had his season ended last season with an injury. It looked like it was possible he could have gone out of that game last night. And they just, again, they were okay for the first couple of quarters, and then the Rams became the Rams, and the Bengals offensive line became the Bengals offensive line. No problem. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, if they can't protect him, it's I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Why can't I hear you?
I don't know.
You there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on, I can't hear you.
All right, hold on. We'll get this sorted out, guys. All right, we got everything sorted out now. We're good. So yeah, just making the point. They got to find a way to protect Burrow, or they're just that could be a catalyst for him to leave if he doesn't feel like that they put. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer that when you have a franchise quarterback, you need to have the offensive line to keep him upright.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. Like, I would spend 2 to 3 of their first few picks in the draft on the offensive line. It's just near the end of, as Patriots fans, we know, drafting near the end of the first round all the time.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Right. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of what happens to the Bengals in the aftermath of all this. But I guess other thing that we wanted to touch on for the Super Bowl was the halftime show.
Greatest halftime show ever.
I know. I normally don't care about the halftime show. For me, typically, it's almost always an artist I have no interest in. I don't care about. Sometimes I don't even know, because I'm apparently an old man who doesn't know anything about pop culture anymore, and I don't listen to music that much. So, however, this was kind of in my wheelhouse of, for those of us who grew up in the 90s.
Yep.
With Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg specifically. So I was actually interested in it this year, and I thought it was fine. I wasn't blown away by it like some people see. I mean, people saying that by far this is the greatest Super Bowl halftime show ever, and I'm like, really? Was it that good? Am I that out of touch? I don't know.
It just, each person did like parts of 1 or 2 popular songs that they know.
Right.
50 Cent looked like he ate 50 hamburgers. That's a little big. No offense. He's much richer and more successful than I'll ever be. So, Eminem was good. They're all good.
So
I told my wife, I was like, it's good. It was good.
So
but maybe because it was rap and hip hop, it didn't pull me in. Like you don't get pumped up like if it's a good rock song, like the Foo Fighters, which I never.
Maybe.
I always thought the Foo Fighters should do halftime.
But. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, like I said, I like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg a lot. I mean, like I said, here we go. Here's a tidbit for you. The first album I ever purchased with my own money was Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
Really?
Yes. Yes. A cassette. I bought a cassette.
Oh, man, like the first cassette I ever had was.
Not that I ever had. The first one I ever bought with my own money.
Oh, first I ever bought.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know if I ever bought any cassettes. I think it was that I didn't buy anything until it was like, I think the first CD I ever bought was Boys to Men, Motown Philly.
But so like I like I said, I enjoy Dre. I enjoy Snoop. I like Eminem to a point. Um, I'm not from, and this is old man territory here. Like I'm not familiar with Kendrick Lamar. Like I know
I know the name.
Right, I know the name.
I'd never seen it before.
Yes. So again,
I went to Nicole and I was like, I don't know any of his songs. She's like, he's the future of hip hop.
I'm not a huge fan of 50 Cent. Like he's got a couple songs I don't mind. I'm not a huge fan of Mary J. Blige, although I respect her as an artist.
Oh, she can sing. That's true.
There
was a rumor that there was going to be a Tupac hologram.
Yes, that's all I kept hearing, and I kept waiting for it because they did that little interlude where Dr. Dre, and I don't know. Again, I'm gonna say he played the piano. I don't know if he actually played the piano or not. And he was playing Changes. It was Tupac's Changes. I think he was playing, right?
I think so.
It was this other apparently this other, and I didn't even register at the time, but apparently Eminem took a knee.
Yeah, I saw
when he was
that.
doing
I was
it.
like, why is he
people
kneeling?
were like, and I'm like, well, obviously, like, and then I saw the picture. I'm like, oh, that's cool. He was paying tribute to Tupac. And everyone's like, oh, he's taking it. I'm like, oh my God, relax, people, relax. So anyways, am I missing anybody that performed during that? I feel like I might.
No,
be.
Snoop, Dre, 50, Mary, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, so I kept waiting for this like Tupac thing, and I was like, because they even did California Love, and I'm like,
yeah, that was when I thought I was like, oh, here it comes.
Like, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, are they gonna do Tupac? Like, they got Snoop up there. Are they gonna do like two of America's Most Wanted? Like, there's no way they do that one at the Super Bowl. But they did. I'm like, hello, California Love. I'm like, it's this Dre's thing. Like, but they ended up not doing it.
And I was like, can you do that outside in the sun? How does that work with 3D projection?
That's essentially a dome.
Yeah, I guess they could have closed it.
I don't know. Well, anyways, so whatever. So the performance was there. Like I thought it was fine. It wasn't one of those ones where I actually paid attention to it. I watched it. And then people were just like, great. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, it wasn't not that long ago that we saw Prince.
Yes.
And Prince was awesome. And
I'm
not even the biggest Prince fan. And I was like, that's awesome. Not to mention, my go-to for years for the best Super Bowl halftime performance was always Michael Jackson.
Oh, at the Rose Bowl, right?
And it's like those, those are kind of like those two are always like my go if you say, and again, Super Bowl halftime show, whatever. But like, just the people went nuts, and like I get it, like this for a lot of people this was like their childhood, I guess.
Yeah.
But just losing, I don't know. It was fine, but it was like I didn't think it was anything spectacular. It wasn't offensive, and it wasn't offensive to me. Apparently, it was offensive to some people, but
some people are nuts. They were saying, some guy, I don't remember his name, close because it's the internet. Some guy on Twitter was talking about how this shouldn't be on TV because it's overtly sexual.
I mean,
have you seen Dancing? It was a Dirty Dancing.
Was it the only thing I could say is like you could maybe, this is a huge maybe. Again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. You could
in the club.
Yes, you could maybe make the lyrically that was probably not the best song to do.
Yeah.
And then there was I just remember I think it's the verse that Dre did of California Love. Had a couple of questionable lines in it. But again, if you really want to nitpick, but I don't know. People lose their minds about it. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. So at the end, I'm holding Carter and we're watching it, and he goes, "Who's that guy? I like that guy." I'm like, "Who? The guy in all the blue?" Because he likes blue. He's like, "No, the other guy." I'm talking about Dre. He's like, "I like that guy."
good taste. Good taste. Yeah. So Super Bowl halftime show, whatever. If you liked it, great. If you hated it, get a life.
And I'll just say, we've had some really stale ones. Paul McCartney wasn't great. The Who was awful, if I remember right. They weren't good. So post Nipplegate, they were pretty. Yeah.
Well,
I think Tom Petty was good.
I
back
read
then.
something that like Jay-Z has been like the person, like one of the big
Oh, I
people
remember hearing
behind
about that.
these for the last several years, and the last several have, I mean, been pretty good for the most part. Like I
At least they're
I
more
didn't
current
care for
people.
last year's with the Weekend. I don't really.
I didn't even watch that one.
Right, last year was the Weekend, I think.
Yeah.
And I forget who it was the year before that. That was
Was that
that
Shakira?
was Shakira and Jennifer Lopez, which everybody thought was the greatest thing ever. I was like, I'm sure it was fine. Not my cup of tea, but whatever. But yeah, again, I at least paid attention to the Super Bowl halftime show this year, so that's got to be a win.
Yeah, but it's always some big thing, and we'll see who it is next year. And
Right.
half the people will hate it, and half the people will think it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome to life in America in 2022.
Yeah, seriously. So, all right, we got a little bit more time so I wanted to hit on a couple of the big news stories circulating with the NFL over the last couple of weeks since we talked last. I think one of the bigger ones is Tom Brady's retirement. I think that's a pretty big deal.
When he sent out, so Schefter reports it, right? And then he sends out the goons to tell everyone, no, I'm not retiring. And then the next day, hey, I'm retiring. Hey.
It's funny. I was partially convinced that because it kind of leaked, he was gonna just kind of give everyone the finger and come back.
The revenge tour, right?
I just because, hey, you guys ruined my announcement, so you know what? I'm not retiring. But I don't know. The whole circus surrounding it was a little bit ridiculous. You know, you had Patriots fans got all up in arms because he didn't mention the Patriots at all in his initial retirement announcement, and then I don't know. It's weird.
My thought on that was, I think he was so focused on Tampa Bay in the statement because he was screwing them. Like, he was leaving them in the lurch.
Because that's the thing. That's the thing is, I get the feeling from kind of hearing discussions is that he didn't necessarily want to retire, and this might not be a final retirement.
I hope he just stays retired. I don't want him to become Brett Favre.
I agree. Well, I'll say this: I'm kind of disappointed that he retired, only for the sense that I still think he was playing at a really high level, and I think he could have done that for another couple of years.
But I think what they've been talking about is right, that he doesn't. Tampa's not. If he wants to play on a winning team, have a chance in the Super Bowl.
That's the thing. Is
Tampa
I think Tampa kind of forced his hand here because I don't think they were going to either trade him or release him, and he didn't want to be part of a rebuild there. So
I wonder if that's how Schefter got it.
What, the Bucks?
If they had conversations, if they had conversations internally, and then someone linked the conversations that Brady was. Schefter's not going to say, or whoever, all this, but like there were conversations, and Brady was like, "I need to get out of here," and they're like, "No," so he's like, "Screw you, I'm retiring."
Maybe.
I just don't want it to. Hopefully, we have baseball. We could do another podcast on the likelihood of baseball. It'll last about 2 minutes, but I don't want to be hearing about this. I know it's good for the radio and sells newspapers, but I don't want to hear is Tom Brady coming back? It's June 6th. OTAs have started. Where's Tom Brady?
I'm telling you, it's unavoidable.
It's going to be everywhere.
It's unavoidable. If someone's quarterback gets hurt in camp, it's the first thing you're going to hear.
Oh yeah.
Should they go get Tom Brady?
Or as soon as the 49ers cut or trade Jimmy G.
Yeah, because I mean, that's the prevailing wisdom is that that's obviously where it's where he's from. It's his hometown team. That's where he would want to go. And you could argue there's a fit there that's a team that could contend with him at quarterback. But
which is why he shouldn't have said he was going to retire. He should have done it internally with the Bucks, saying, "Hey, I'm going to retire if you don't get me out of here." And then they could have traded him, right, in theory, to San Francisco for maybe not a boatload because he's only probably going to play like 2 more years. But it just looks bad if he retires because he doesn't like the situation and then comes back out of the blue
right
to save the day. It just
I don't necessarily disagree. Like I said, part of me doesn't want him to retire because I think the storyline of him playing past 45 would have been really interesting if he was still playing at the level that he has been playing at the last couple of years. But yeah,
I think it was near the end. It was, I forget which game it was. It was near the end of the year. When he came back against the Jets, like you still knew he's got it.
Right.
There was no need for him to retire.
I mean, you can look at the last game, the game against the Rams that they lost.
Yeah.
You know, storming back from 27 points down, or 24.
But then again, if you're him, right, you're still playing at this great level. But half of what makes you Tom Brady is your desire to win. And I don't know if he's the type of player who could go and play just for the fun of it and not for a chance to win everything.
Oh, I agree.
I think he couldn't do both.
Yeah, I think again, and that we talked about, what it looks like Tampa might have forced his hand here, where he didn't. They're going to have to kind of retool and rebuild, and let's say he's got 1-2 more years left. He doesn't want to be a part of that. He wants to have a chance to win. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be back or if he's actually gone or whatever. But
you know how there's always these dates when contracts become official. Usually in June, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's where you'll see any movement on him. Because say they have to cut him for salary cap purposes. After that, then.
Well, I think because of the retirement, and I don't know this for sure, but I think that essentially
that they can carry him. That's right.
I think it essentially freezes the contract, and they're not. I think they're not liable for the cap hit on that.
Because that's what happened with Gronk, right? Gronk was basically retired.
Right, and the Patriots had to trade him because
he was going to go on their cap. It
freezes the contract.
Yeah,
it's not like you can just retire for a year and then come back as a free agent.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there was some kind of like a roster bonus or something that he would get by being on the roster at a certain point in time, I don't think that applies when you try it. I don't know that for sure, but I think that's how that works. But I don't know.
I still think if he should have went to Tennessee. I know he won a Super Bowl down there, but he'd still be playing if he was in Tennessee, I think.
I agree. I mean, again,
or San Francisco. I can't believe if they really had a chance, they kept Jimmy over him.
Yeah, I agree there too. I heard, and I don't know how true this story is, but I heard that the San Francisco thing was a possibility, and they actually brought him in, and like apparently there was something about
they were going over situations.
They were going over situations, and like Brady kind of used it as like to get on. Like he didn't agree with what Shanahan was saying, and
he brought
up like Falcon Super Bowl scenarios to him, and and apparently that at that point he was just like, I don't think he's going to be a fit here. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's hilarious if it is.
That's a good story, though.
Yeah, but I think Tennessee would have been a great landing spot for him. Again, he won a Super Bowl in Tampa. You can't, I just think the way that it ended, it wouldn't have ended this way with Tennessee. I mean, maybe he doesn't retire,
Yeah.
because I think he's got a much better rapport with Vrabel than he does apparently with Arians. Apparently that's an issue, but I don't know. So yeah, so that's Brady, and I guess the other really big thing that's happened over the last couple of weeks is the
The
Brian Flores.
Commanders?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I guess we could talk about that for the Washington
Just a
football
second, just
team.
for 1 second.
The Washington football team is no longer the Washington football team. They're the Washington Commanders, which I actually think I like the name.
The name's not bad. The color scheme, the uniforms look like they're Arizona State.
I don't know if I actually saw the full uniforms.
The W looks like, you ever see a waste management truck?
Yes.
That's what the W reminds me of.
I agree with that.
And I guess so on the new logo, it has the years they won the Super Bowl.
But they're wrong.
But they did the calendar year of the time and
the actual Super Bowl game,
not the season.
Right? Yeah. So
and one thing they did, one more.
No, go ahead.
The nickname.
Yeah, people call them.
Everyone's calling them
the commies. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But I guess that's unfortunate. But so the thing about the year thing on the logo, I don't know why they don't just put the number of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what everyone was saying. Like,
because then you don't have, because right now, I mean, baseball is the only sport that doesn't, bridge years.
Yeah,
season
there will always be the classic. When does the decade start? Is it on 2001 or is it 2000?
Yeah,
it's just another one of those things. Some people will say, we won the 2002 Super Bowl," and they'll be like, "No, it's the 2001 season." But you're right; they should have just put the Roman numerals.
Yeah.
Or
even if you wanted to put just a number, whatever, just refer to the Super Bowl number.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's there.
Well, how about you just don't put them on there?
I don't know.
When they win another Super Bowl,
then you gotta change the logo. I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, I guess.
You gotta make that money.
Yeah, right. New jerseys. But yeah, so the Commanders, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So the Brian Flores lawsuit is interesting.
I think he undercut his argument because I don't understand how the Stephen Ross offering you money to lose backs up your racist claim, but of course that's going to take precedent because that's integrity of the game issues.
Right. That's the thing. So I feel like he diluted the issue by bringing in these things that didn't have to do with the issue. It felt like he had this platform and he just wanted to unload any bit of ammunition that he had. And
like the whole thing about Denver being drunk when they came to or hungover when they came to his interview.
Right. Yeah, the Elway thing was weird.
Yeah.
But so this is sensitive. This is a sensitive issue. And for me, as a white man, it's hard for me to, talk about this. Obviously you run the risk of, again, being either insensitive or not understanding properly, and I get that. I don't like the Rooney Rule. I like the spirit of the Rooney Rule. I think the spirit is great, but the way that the rule is, it basically
leads.
What's that?
It leads to these sham interviews.
Yes.
That's what it does.
Again, I've always felt that you should be hiring coaches, selecting players based on merit. But there is room to acknowledge the fact that, the diversity, especially at the coaching level and at the executive level, is not necessarily where it should be. Or maybe that's not even the right way to put it. It could be better. And that's not, I don't know. I don't think that's arguable.
No, I think the trends have been white offensive coordinators. Well, offensive coordinators are the trend to be hired as head coaches. So
Right.
I think the first thing people should be looking into is why aren't there more black and minority offensive coordinators?
Yeah. Because I mean that's the pipeline really at this point, because everything is so centered on offense.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean it makes sense. I mean you have to start it there. I mean just going back to the Flores situation, I think it's ridiculous that he was fired.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was fired because he was black. I think he was fired because the Dolphins are stupid.
Yeah, and I think it was fired because, from what I'm not on the inside, but from what you hear, it seemed like there were two issues. Well, three. They're not a smart organization. Two, he's had coaching turnovers like it's out of control. And three, it didn't seem like him and the owner got along. If you put all those under Matt Rule in Carolina, they'd fire him too.
Yeah.
I think the issue is he got that job. I don't think he got fired for his race, but I think the sham interview text, let me rephrase that. When he found out that his interview was a sham because of the text messages with Belichick,
right?
I think that set him over the edge. I don't think what happened to him in Miami was racist, but I think that the handling of not only his interview, but I think there was another one. I mean, another coach, but he was internal. Oh, that's what it was. I believe it was the defensive coordinator was black, and they interviewed him for the head coach, but that doesn't satisfy the Rooney Rule.
Because he's an
so then they had
candidate? Because he's an internal candidate?
Yeah, I believe you have to interview an external candidate.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. But yeah.
So it's just
yeah, you're right. It's everything that happened with the Giants, which is what spawned this. It really doesn't have as much to do with the Dolphins. But again, all this stuff has come out about the Dolphins, which is kind of what muddies the issue.
And then you had Hugh Jack. What was it? Hugh Jack. What was his name?
Yeah, Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson.
Yeah.
Who came out and tried to piggyback off it and just confuse the situation more than anything than other. Like if he had really thought he had been blackballed or dealt with in a racist manner, he would have signed on to that's why it was a class action lawsuit.
Right. So
other wrong parties could join in on it. But he had to come out and try to make his own thing. And that sort of deterred from it because, as you get more people talking about an issue, it drowns out the voice or the validity of the original complaint.
Yeah. That's the thing is because it's basically what happens here is that you have two separate issues. You have the issue of, minority coaching candidates who are having these sham interviews because, the team has in mind who they want to hire, but they have to interview a minority candidate for the Rooney Rule. And then you have this thing about teams purposely tanking. And they're not related at all.
Yeah.
But because this stuff all came out as part of this lawsuit, it takes away from. Granted, I think they're both important issues.
Yeah.
But on different levels. Like one is a competitive integrity thing, one is a social, equality thing. And so you run the risk of, taking the focus away from what it should be. I don't know.
I feel like the Rooney Rule has run its course.
I don't know how you fix it though. I was thinking about this and I don't know how you fix it. Again, I think the spirit of the rule is good.
Yeah, if people follow it with integrity.
Right. But again, that's the thing is if you're just I don't know if there's a rule that you can put in place that can accomplish what they want to accomplish with it. It has to be like a culture change.
Yeah, it's got to be empowering recently retired players or young people, or basic, to want to get into coaching. Right, you have to provide the resources to teach. If you did a study for 5 years and found out that X, I'm going to start spewing something stupid. So, if you do a study for 5 years and you figure out this percentage of coaches are, let's say, wide receiver coaches are black, and then in the same study you realize that over a course of 5 years, this many wide receiver coaches get promoted to OC, what percentage of those are black? And what is other than race, what is the difference between those two?
Right.
Is it opportunity? Is it education? Is it access to time, money? I feel like you gotta almost, if the NFL really wanted to fix it, they would make a coaching school for ex-players, ex-college athletes, people who want to get into the coaching field. I don't follow the NBA as much as I used to, but a lot of their coaching staffs are ex-players because they stay involved in the game.
Right.
And the NBA knows the value of their players, to not only to the league but to the fans. NFL should take that same type of approach when it comes to when a Rodney Harrison retired. They should have done whatever they could to get him to be a coach. Because if you want these players to be coaches, you're gonna have to make it far more fiscally advantageous to do that versus being on TV.
Yeah, and I don't know how you do that, because
you probably can't.
These analysts, what. Not to go on to a huge tangent here, but one of the things that kind of came up over the course of Super Bowl week was that Sean McVay could possibly walk away to take a TV job, because the idea being that he puts in so many crazy hours doing this, he could probably make more money as an analyst for a couple of years, and then if he wanted to, have his pick of coaching jobs.
I've never understood paying analysts and play-by-play people that amount of money. I never understood the bang you get for your buck paying Tony Romo $15 million a year.
Yeah, because I mean, realistically speaking, what commentator is someone tuning in to watch? It doesn't matter.
People
will complain about commentators, but they're not tuning in for them.
Yeah. What's that? Harlan? What's his name? I like to hear him on the radio.
Kevin Harlan.
But I don't tune in to. Kevin Harlan's calling this game. I got to watch it.
No, you're gonna watch. You're gonna watch a game because your team's involved, regardless of.
Iron Eagle and Dan Fouts.
Yeah. Or you're gonna watch a game because it's one of the two games that's on in your area.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who's calling the game. It doesn't.
That's why
it doesn't
the whole
stop
ESPN changing their Monday Night Football team. Like, it used to be back in the day, Dennis Miller was on it.
Yeah.
And then it was Gruden. I don't get it. Like, I just want to watch the game.
You're not like, especially for like Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, you're not competing with anybody. It's not like you need to find the best color analyst so that people will tune into your game as opposed to this other game, because you're the only game that's on at the time. So people are either going to watch it because they want to watch that game, but they're not. And I don't see maybe I don't understand it, but I just don't know of it. But I don't see anybody who is going, I have to watch Monday Night Football because, whoever is calling the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think to bring it back to Brian Flores,
yeah,
as with most things, like we talked about culture change, it would help if there were more minority owners. Then you
yeah,
got your trickle down, right?
yeah, and then
So,
that's the idea is so you want the owners to make that change. They're the ones they're the ones deciding on all of this stuff.
mm-hmm.
It's
But then
just
it's also then you also have like the nepotism and the cronyism,
right.
but that's rampant everywhere.
Yeah,
There's just more controls in place in the public sector that there are the word I can't think of it.
discrimination.
Discrimination. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anti-discrimination laws, and the NFL doesn't seem to have a backbone to want to fix anything.
Right. So, yeah, it's again. I don't
I'm
know.
just saying, how do we expect them to tackle racism in their hiring practices when they can't even admit that they expunged all the records about the playing footballs?
Oh God, I don't want to get into. I don't want to get into that. I saw that became a headline last week, and I was baffled. I'm like, I think I even tweeted. I'm like, I did not have Deflategate becoming a
Yeah.
headline in 2022 on my 2022 bingo card. I mean, we can save that for another. That's another. I think that's a can of worms discussion. We don't have time for that now.
Oh, it's so much fun though.
Yeah, but anyways,
Well,
yeah.
unfortunately, we can't solve the Brian Flores situation today.
Yeah,
either,
I just don't know how you really fix it, and like I said, I just it needs to be a culture change within the league. How you get there, I am not equipped to answer that, and I'm also not equipped to say whether or not anything is happening fast enough for people's liking.
Well, if they weren't so well, I think there should be a deep dive into the issue. It just seems like it's all been top layer, just cursory. If people saw that they were making actions to make change, I think people would feel better. But when they don't see anything happening,
right,
it gets frustrating. And then if you're Brian Flores, and say Houston offers you the job, do you take it, or do you think it's just they're doing a solid to make it go away?
They're trying to make me drop the lawsuit.
Yeah. Or they really want Deshaun Watson to stay, so if they hire me, then maybe they'll stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he put himself in a. I love him for the principle he took, but in terms of his professional, I hope he gets another job. I just don't know if that's going to work out for him at the moment. I don't know if he would feel comfortable taking a job right now. I don't know if I would. Like, do you really want me, or is it just because there's this lawsuit?
Right. On the flip side, it's like the owners are like, why should we hire this guy who's suing the league? Which I'm not saying I agree with it, but I can see the.
No, they're probably saying the same thing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And it probably,
to
be honest, it probably would undercut the message if he took a job, especially from that owner, like from Houston.
Yeah.
It would undercut the message.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
And do you really want to? And then do we? I don't want to speak for him, but I don't know if I would want to be there. A David Culley for they're going to hire me for 1 year and then just cut me again.
Yeah.
Said, hey, we tried.
Right. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But
I'm gonna raise my soda to Tuukka Rask. You retired, Bruins goalie.
Yeah.
Underappreciated. Like Tim Thomas stood on his head that one year, 2011, won this cup. Tuukka Rask was pretty good.
Yeah, I think he got an unfair shake to a degree, but
if they would have showed up in Game 7 against the Blues, the offense, they would have won the cup. It wasn't Tuukka Rask's fault.
I think it's fair. It's definitely fair.
That's all I got right now.
So cool. Well, yeah, that was a little longer.
Oh, the best part about the Super Bowl was the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness trailer.
I paid almost no attention to commercials.
Do you want me to spoil it for you?
The only commercial I remember was the Coinbase one with the QR code that just kind of ponged around the screen. Because I was watching that one and I'm like, part of me wants to scan this code to see what it is, and then at the very end it said like paid for by Coinbase or something. It's like, oh, okay, I don't need to scan that QR code now. But yeah, I guess you're gonna spoil something.
I can spoil something if you want. It's in the trailer, so it's on the internet.
Sure,
it's legit. Doctor Strange gets arrested for manipulating time. He gets brought in front of a huge tribunal with all these empty seats. And then you hear a voice. I won't say what he says, but it's Sir Patrick Stewart. Charles Xavier.
There you go. Marvel spoilers that they spoiled on their own.
Yep. I hate that they do that.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Well,
you can't escape them. What?
Yeah, true. That's true. They're everywhere.
No, what I did. Sorry.
No.
One more thing. Before the new Spider-Man movie came out, I went on Twitter and I blocked every possible word I could find. I talked about Spider-Man movie. All the actors. I didn't want to do anything. And then I went and saw the movie by myself. It was the greatest experience of all time.
Yeah, it is harder these days to seemingly avoid. But what was that?
You missed an episode of TV, and it's like binge season.
Yeah.
I'm losing my internet, so we should end this soon. I'm just got my connections unstable.
Oh yeah.
They're coming for me. The NFL.
But yeah. If you miss an episode of a show, forget it. Stay off social media, or you're just screwed. But.
Well, they do those weird things where they're like spoilers not in context, and it'll be like 4 pitches. Like they'll show like an axe and a thing, and you're supposed to. And then I'm like, oh, I know what that is. But ain't that still context?
Yeah. Just stay off the internet. If you don't want to be spoiled, stay off the internet. That's all there is to it. So, all right, man, this was fun as always. Good talking some football. We probably won't have too much football to talk until draft time ish. I think.
A wealth of other information, So.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely talk some other stuff, but yeah, I think we'll be able to give football a rest for a while.
We can talk about how Goldberg ended Bret Hart's career.
Oh my god. Yeah, we'll have to. Oh boy, sore subject for people. But so, all right, Ian. Thank you as always. I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
Take care.
Enjoy, everyone.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy President's Day.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Carter, on the 23rd.
Yes. 4, right? You said
Mario.
4 coming up, huh?
4.
Jesus. Yeah. Time flies, man. Time flies.
Too fast. And Dad's getting old, so he's like, oh, Dad, let's do this. I'm like, Dad's old. I can't get up. But last thing, Ice Ice Baby runs in the blood. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow. What a mic drop. All right, man. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone. Bye, Al.
All right. That was Ian. Just another fun football conversation with him. We're not going to, again, he kind of alluded to it. He knows more than football, so we're not going to just have him on to talk football all the time. We're going to get into some other sports and other stuff. Apparently, he wants to talk some wrestling. So We might get into that a little bit at some point down the road. So I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Like I said, I always enjoy talking to him about stuff. So again, we'll definitely have him on more in the future. Like I said towards the end there, I think this will probably be most likely, no promises, no promises. It's probably be the last football related episode for at least a little while. Football season's over. We got the draft in a few months. I'm not a huge draft guy generally. Like I shouldn't say that. I love the draft. I love everything surrounding the draft, but I don't really watch much college football, so I don't know a ton about the players outside of stuff that I just hear. So it's I am not the person that you want to analyze the draft. Mock drafts are not my thing. I couldn't tell you too much about the people who do get drafted outside of maybe like the top, for a lot of the first rounders. But so maybe we'll do something around the draft. Who knows? If there's a big enough story, one of these stories that we talked about, especially like this whole thing with the Brian Flores lawsuit, how that plays out, that could be a big thing. Maybe that comes up before then. So maybe we'll hit on something. But by and large, we're probably going to be stepping away from football a little bit for the next several episodes. But who knows? You never know where the conversation is going to take us. So as always, guys, I do like to remind you that if you're interested in any more of my content, I do stream on Twitch on generally Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays around 5 p.m. Eastern. You can catch that on twitch.tv/Aurethious. We do a lot of gaming. Actually, right now I'm in the middle of Final Fantasy VIII. So if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you might want to check that out. You can also catch me on Twitter. It's at Aurethious on Twitter. And if you'd like to join me on Discord with my friends on the Ion Game Corner, link is on the screen if you are watching the video version of this. Either way, it'll be in the description. So check it out. We got a lot of fun stuff going on the Discord. My friends who are creating content, a lot of stuff on Twitch, some YouTube stuff as well. We do game nights on Fridays. We have some Pokemon leagues. We're got some other things possibly down the pipe. So check it all out. And if not, again, nothing else, just come hang out. We got a good group of people hanging out in the Discord. So come by and join us. It's a lot of fun. So that being said, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Glad to have you here with me. I hope you are enjoying the podcast as much as I'm enjoying presenting it to you. So, again, thank you, and we will catch you next time in the arena of Aurethious.